Greetings, my name is Chamomile and this is an exploration of the entire galaxy sector by sector. Today, we're looking at Tarabba Sector in the 15th Hook Nebula Command of the trailing sectors of the Outer Rim. We're in 15th Hook Nebula Command, so where are the pirates? Well, planet Vrant Tarnum in the Stigmarn system was part of wild space during the High Republic era, and that's where the Elders of the Path fled after their cult collapsed. The Elders of the Path believed that any use of the Force was wrong, and had stolen the Rod of Seasons, which, despite the friendly-sounding name, was used to control the nameless monsters who hunted Force sensitives. After the original cult disintegrated, the Elders of the Path decided the Rod was too dangerous and broke it in half, hiding one fragment of it on Vrant Tarnum, a planet once home to some ancient pre-Republic civilization that had long since collapsed and left only ruins behind. So far as uninhabited planets go, this one is a pretty conspicuous place to hide your Jedi-killing treasure. Regardless of why the Elders chose to hide it here in particular, a century later the Nihil Marauders arrived, led by Marchian Ro, seeking the Rod, and soon thereafter the Jedi arrived, seeking Marchian Ro. By this point, Ro had already gotten the first half of the Rod of Seasons, so when Yoda and his friend showed up on Vrant Tarnum, it was for all the marbles. And Marchian Ro and the Nihil got those marbles. The Jedi kicked the Nihil off the planet, but only after Ro had already retrieved the second half of the Rod from the abandoned ruins on the planet. With his new weapon, Ro set his sights on the nearby Jedi Temple on planet Takodana in the Tashtor sector, which is not in 15th Hook Nebula over sector, so that is a story for a very other time. Tarabba Sector is one of the most recent sectors to be fully explored. In the High Republic era, it was wild space, meaning space that bordered on explored space closely enough that it wasn't really unknown, but people still hadn't checked every star system for inhabitable or inhabited planets. And when they did, just a few decades before the Clone Wars, they found Utapau. Tarabba Sector is, if we're being diplomatic, the domain of the Pauans and Utai, the two native species of the planet Utapau. Utapau is a steadfastly neutral planet, first discovered in the Late Republic era and which had no major involvement in any war except the Clone Wars, when General Grievous muscled his way in and got chased out by the Grand Army of the Republic a few days later. At the time of the Galactic Civil War, Utapau's first contact with Greater Galactic Society was still within living memory, if only barely, so they didn't really have any loyalty to either side. The Empire officially incorporated them as a sector during the closing stages of the Clone Wars, but they mostly just said, yeah, you got it boss, we're a sector, and then went back to doing what they were doing anyway. The Empire was never very interested in giving them proper representation, just in assigning them a Moff, and after the Battle of Jakku, Utapau became an independent system mostly because it had already kind of been doing its own thing for the entire Imperial era. So they were just making it official.